If you're thinking of getting into baking but don't know what equipment you need, then this video is for you. I'm going to be sharing with you the 10 most important pieces of equipment that you need to get started with baking at home. So let's get into it. If you're going to be baking quite a lot, the first thing that I would recommend investing in is a good stand mixer. I have got the KitchenAid one and it has never failed me before, touch wood. It is honestly amazing. It comes with loads of different attachments. You've got the paddle attachment, which looks like this, a whisk attachment that looks like this, and then you also get a bread attachment which looks like this. The one thing I will say about getting a stand mixer is it is an investment, but the investment is worth it because it's not something that's going to break after like a week. This will last you years. And also for your first mixer, you don't have to get a really expensive one. There's so many different ones with so many different price ranges. You can get ones for like £40, £30. Definitely just finding what works for you, but I would definitely recommend getting some sort of mixer that you can leave it mixing while you walk away and do something different. I would say if you're going to be baking a lot, you need a stand mixer. Number 2 is a good set of spatulas. I have got these spatulas in different sizes and shapes, but the great thing about having spatulas rather than just a wooden spoon, for example, is it ensures that you don't waste any batter when you're scraping a bowl because it can get all of the residue out. These are underrated tools. They're cheap but cheerful. You know, times are hard right now, ingredients are expensive, and we want to get the most for our money, so I would definitely recommend getting some spatulas. Another underrated essential piece of equipment is a hand whisk. So these are balloon whisks. I've got a silicone one here and I've also got a metal one here for different purposes because you can't really use these metal ones in certain pieces of crockery because it might scratch it, which is then when a silicone one comes in handy. But the point being is having these on hand is essential because if you're working with a lumpy consistency and your big stand mixer isn't really getting out the lumps, or the recipe says that you need to do it by hand, this is where these come in handy to ensure that you get a super smooth silky cake batter, for example. There are a lot of recipes that do say things need to be done primarily by hand, one of them being muffins, and I swear by these when I make my muffins. I do not use any other piece of equipment to get mixing, and I always have a really nice batter as a result. Unfortunately, they do break quite often, like if you're using them quite a lot. This might be my third one now, but they're worth having, to be fair. The next thing that I would say is literally crucial is having electric scales, mainly because they're going to save you so much time. Manual scales, they aren't always accurate, so having electric scales on hand is going to ensure perfect results for your bakes. You can get so many different kinds. For example, I've got a Smeg one. I've also got this one from Salter. This one has never failed me. I've had it for genuinely years. This one is a new one of mine. But what I like about this one, for example, is you can put the bowl on top and just get what you need to know really quickly. You just turn it on and you can do different units. I generally do not go a day in my kitchen without using this. So yes, I would definitely recommend getting some electric scales if you haven't got them already. And as a result, you will see great results. So yes. Okay, the next thing that you're going to need that is basically vital is tins. There are so many different kinds of tins you can get, and it's just about finding the right ones that work for you, your style of baking, the size of the bakes you want, how you want them to look. For example, you could have rectangular brownies, square brownies, whatever you're looking for, there is a tin out there for you basically. So firstly, of course, if you're making cakes, you will need cake tins. This is a 6-inch tin. I've also got 8-inch tins, 10-inch tins, but the great thing about this one is it was from Amazon. It came in a set of 4, which is great, and it was really affordable actually. So cake tins are a must if you're making sponges. Then we've got these 2 tins which I literally use on a daily basis. So this is my holy grail tin. It's a classic 9x9-inch square tin. You can make basically everything in this. For example, this is great for brownies. It's got good depth. You can make thick bakes as well, which is great. That's another thing you want to look for when you're looking for a tin, how thick it is, because you don't really want one that's super thin and you put the batter in, it's overflowing out the top. So something to consider. Great for brownies, cookie bars, literally everything. It's perfect. Then when I want to make a bigger batch of something, I've got my beautiful rectangular tin, which I got from Sainsbury's. I think it was like £4 as well. Really good quality, has lasted me so long. I make all my brownies in here. In fact, I will show you some that I made earlier. I feel like a proper pro saying that. Here are some that I made earlier. Why is the baking paper like that? This tin is really great for brownies. The batter fits in there really nicely. You can then cut this into rectangles or even squares if you want smaller pieces. Definitely recommend getting a few different size tins so that you've got the option if you need it. Then of course, a classic muffin tin. If you're making cupcakes or muffins, you always got to have one of these in the kitchen. You never know when you might need it basically. And then also one more tin I forgot to share is a classic loaf tin. They're great for making breads, loaf cakes. You never know when you might want to use it, so they're great to have around too. All of these different 5 tins I would say are the essential ones for getting started with baking, and then also you can build your collection as you go. I have got too many tins, more than I care to show. The next piece of equipment is skewers. Now you might be wondering, why. These little things are very important when it comes to checking if your bakes are done in the oven. There is such a thing called the skewer test, where if you want to see if your bake is done, you poke one of these into the center of your bake, for example a cake, and you will know if your bake is ready depending on what you see at the end of your skewer. For example, if you're making a sponge and you poke it into the sponge and it comes out completely clean, then your cake is done. But for example, if you're making brownies and you poke this in and there's a little bit of residue left on there, then they're going to be perfectly fudgy. But if there's nothing left, they might be overcooked. These are so important because, you know, we can't just poke our finger into the middle of the bake and see if it's done. So these are dainty, don't leave too much of a mark, and give us the answers that we need really when baking. They're almost like a magic wand, I would say. So yeah, you can get them anywhere. Moving on to number 7. Every baker has their collection of piping nozzles. Let's open this up. It does take a bit of time to get the sort of ones that you're looking for, but I would say having all the different shapes and sizes of piping nozzles is essential, especially if you're going to be working with cakes primarily, because on the day sometimes you don't know how you want to decorate that cake. So knowing that you've got all the options possible is really handy. So like we've got some big ones, I don't know if you can really see. Yeah, you've got some big ones, we've got some flat ones, because all of these kind of different things are going to create a different effect, different shape, and I just think they're really handy to have on hand. These are great for like writing. They're quite cheap. You can get them from different places. You can get sets. Like I think this box already had a few in, and I've added a few more of my personal collection, and they'll last you generally forever. Like I can't see these breaking. The next things I would say I use on a daily basis, I basically use all these things on a daily basis, but I cannot go without my trusty baking paper, non-stick foil, and cling film. These are amazing. For example, if you're making brownies, you'll need to use this before adding in the batter, because if you don't add baking paper to the trays, trying to get those brownies out is just an absolute nightmare. These will just help you pull them out onto the counter where you can slice them easily. I have probably gone through hundreds of packets of baking paper, and it is just vital, I would say. Foil is great for covering bakes, you know, maybe overnight if you want to keep them from getting any dust, insects, you know, this will just keep them clean. And the same goes for cling film. If you want to put buttercream into this and keep it in the fridge or freezer, this is really handy to have around. So definitely get these if you're looking to get started with baking. And another thing which I would say isn't essential, but it will make your life a lot easier, is pre-cut parchment paper for cake tins. So literally all you have to do is add these to the bottom of the tin, add in your cake, and then you're done. You can get this from Amazon, any sort of cake supply shop. Really, really good. The next things you will need are bowls. There are 2 kinds of bowls I would recommend for beginner bakers: a plastic bowl and glass bowls. You can get these in a few different sizes. This is a good size. I think I got this from the range, and it's the Pyrex brand. This one, no idea where I got this from, but you can get these from B&M, the range, Home Bargains. The reason that these are good is for 2 reasons. There are different ways of melting chocolate to ensure good results, and the first one that I would recommend is adding it to a glass bowl and then doing the bain-marie method, where you put a small pan of simmering water underneath this and it will gently melt your chocolate for you. You can't really do that with the plastic bowl because it could melt and it sticks to the pan. It's a bit dangerous, so having a glass bowl on hand is essential. It's microwavable, so you can add your chocolate into there as well. This is just really good for melting things together. So like when I make my brownies, I'll add my butter and chocolate into here and put that in the microwave. It's just the kind of bowl that's sturdy, it's just reliable, do you know what I mean? And then you've got a classic plastic bowl. Good thing about this one is its size, it's nice and large. It's also got some measuring things in here if you did want to do that. Really the reason I have this is for making batters by hand. For example, I always make my muffin batter in this, or a blondie, and then because you're making those by hand, you need a bowl big enough to hold the ingredients together without them spilling out. And then also, because this bowl isn't metal, you can use your balloon whisks in here without any problems. They're just a good versatile bowl. They're dishwasher proof, they're lightweight. I would just highly recommend getting a few of these. Another bonus thing, which I don't really know, is not really part of the 10, but I will mention it now, is getting a sieve. When I make brownies, for example, I put the flour and the cocoa powder through here into the bake to ensure that my brownies are silky smooth. This isn't essential, which is why I'm not including it in the 10, but you can't go wrong with having a sieve on hand. You can get a bigger sieve, but I just like to use this one because I can control how much is coming out when I'm sieving. And then number 10 of essential things you will need as a beginner baker are different size palette knives. Now palette knives are literally so important for so many different things, but the main one is if you are going to be making cakes, you need some of these because you can scrape the side, you can make sure that the top is smooth. For example, if you're making a tray cake, you can easily spread the batter throughout the tin so that when you bake it, you've got a flat consistency. These are just really helpful, I would say. They are just really good for cakes, tray bakes, chocolate, literally anything. Just having a couple of these on hand is really good. You don't have to have loads of them. You can maybe just have, for example, I love this one and maybe this one as well. This large one is probably not that essential, but sometimes they come in sets as well. The most important thing when you start baking as a beginner is just making your life as easy as possible, because baking baking can be stressful if, you know, you don't have all the right things around you. And the whole point of baking is to enjoy it and try and be as relaxed as you can. So on that note, they are my top 10 pieces of equipment that you need to get if you're looking at getting started with baking. I would say they are essential. You know, you can make things without them, but it's going to be more of a struggle. This will make your life a lot easier. It will just make you want to bake more, I would say, just knowing you've got everything on hand. For example, having a mixer that can do everything for you basically and lead to really good high quality results. You can't go wrong. All of the stuff I've shown you, I enjoy using. It has just helped me learn a lot on my baking journey. So yeah, that is everything. If you have any baking questions, please do let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer them. Please do also let me know what kind of long form baking content you would like to see from me. Let me know in the comments. I'm not really sure what kind of thing to post on this part of my YouTube channel. I usually post shorts, but I want to get more into this part. So just let me know what you would like to see and I will definitely film that. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video.